want to talk with you guys about the common denominator. The common denominator in a lot of things that you may experience in your life. We are usually the common denominator as far as our life experiences and the things that you may have that the things that repeatedly happens over and over and over again. Now we know that there are some cases this is not always true. We're not going to blame a person whose life was taken, a child, an innocent child. We can't blame them for certain things like that. Sometimes people grow up in certain cultures and environment in which they don't have free will. Some of the things that I will talk about on this channel and the steps that we can take, someone from another culture, another country who listens, this will be foreign to them because it is just not possible for them. So therefore, this message would not apply to them to say, you are the common denominator here, because their culture does not allow that. To follow a Western advice in some cases, even in areas where they are possibly being abused or mistreated, could actually cost them their lives. It could result in brutal beatings, decapitation in some cases. So I understand that there are differences unless they are able to in some way escape and find the help that they need where they can actually fight for their rights. I understand that some of these topics and these things that I'm going to talk about will not apply. So it's understandable. But from what I see, a lot of my audiences is normally from the Western societies and Western cultures. And so we're talking about things that you may go through repeatedly. Let's talk about relationships. If you're always getting hurt, you're always being betrayed, you always seem to keep picking the same type of guy, the same type of girl, the same type of man, same type of woman. A lot of times we have to take the responsibility to look within ourselves. If you end up having a child with someone who is a total jerk, who does not pay child support, who is problematic, a woman who does not allow you to see your child, who is very uncooperative, who is loud, shows up to your job, disrespects your family, creates division in your household, whether you may even marry the person sometimes. And this person splits all your relationships. You don't have your friends anymore. You don't have a good relationship with your family anymore. It's just you and this person all of a sudden, and they're still miserable and they're still complaining. A lot of times when you meet these kinds of individuals and you're now living with life's choices in whatever category applies to you, you have to look within yourself. Even if you dated someone who you loved, or you married a person that you adored and you were faithful and you were kind and you were true to them, and they mistreated you and they did you wrong and they stole from you and they did certain things, you still always have to look within yourself. Because there was a moment where they did something for the first time, maybe not to this degree, but they did something the first time. They did something the second time. What made you stay? Those are the questions that you have to ask yourself. We are often the common denominators for certain things that happens. I'm not telling you that you take on the full brunt and blame yourself for everything and, oh, it's all my fault. Oh, it's all me. I'm not telling you that. But in order to be able to grow, in order to be able to move forward and to heal and to make better choices in the future, You have to face these facts. If you spend your life only looking at what this person did to you and how they reacted and how they hurt you and what they did, you're going to become a glorified victim. And you're going to take that victim mentality to your next relationship. When you get around people, you're always going to be talking about what happened to you. And when you have new friendships, you're going to talk about what happened to you. You're going to be comparing events between you and this new person, these new friendships, these new groups. And you're always going to reflect back on what happened to you before. And a lot of times you're going to misunderstand something and then ruin it because you have a fear or you have some entitlement. You feel like they owe you something because of all that you experience. But we have to realize no one owes us anything because we had a choice. Look at the type of friends that you have around you. We talk about friendships. What kind of friends do you have? How do they treat you? If you have mean, abusive friends, friends that take you for granted, you have to do a self-reflection. You are the common denominator here. It may mean that you are giving up too much too soon. Maybe you're trying too hard. Maybe you are so eager for that friendship that you end up attracting people who are actually predators. And then this behavior can go back to, it always goes back to, you got to check. Sometimes childhood, things that you experienced growing up, things that you may have experienced with friends, something you experienced at school, a significant emotional event that happened in your life that stuck with you. And what happens is it's like you're holding a bag of insecurities and it draws predators to you. It's like if you're in the ocean and you're carrying a bucket or you have a container that's filled with dead fish and it's leaking blood from this dead fish and all the, some sea animals, and you go in the ocean, you're going to get an audience pretty quick. But it's normally going to be to your demise if you're in that ocean with that stuff on you, with that scent and that smell. So a lot of times, guys, the kind of guys that you date, the kind of girls that you date, the sort of friends that you make, the people that draw to you, even sometimes how people may treat you, there's a common denominator, a way that you present yourself, and you have to get to the bottom of that, whether that's through therapy, books, reading. You've got to find that out. You have to discover that. Maybe you have a look. Have you ever seen yourself on camera before? Someone records you and you may be just sitting and eating, or you're just reading a book, or you're just on the couch and you see yourself and you're like, is that what I look like? I know that I've done that a few times. Now you're at home relaxed and you're kind of shocked. Whoa, how do I look like that? Now, sometimes we are our own worst critics. People don't even see us the way that we may look at ourselves. They just see you. You like, oh, what does my hair look like? Oh, you know what I mean? But maybe when you get in a work environment, maybe when you get around other people, you get in your head and you get in your mind, you get very nervous. Maybe when you're getting to know someone, maybe when you're interested in a person, you're already overthinking and thinking all these different things and wondering, and you create this barrier, or you just give off this, some people say an energy, but it's just, to me, this is a condition of your spirit. You're wounded. So when you're getting around people, when you get around other people, you can't behave normally. You behave the way you think you should. You laugh when you shouldn't laugh, meaning you do this nervous laugh, or you over laugh, you laugh too much, or you're super withdrawn. You're doing something to one extreme or another. And so what happens because of that, it can be very off-putting to other people. And I'm gonna put a pin in that, okay? Because that could be for another video. I'm gonna talk about why sometimes people experience certain events over and over again. And that's something else I want to talk about. So I'm gonna leave that there. But for this video, we talk about realizing when you are the common denominator for the type of man or woman you experience, the type of friends that you have. Why do you always end up having friends who does the same messed up thing to you over and over again? Or why do you keep having friends who are troublemakers and then you get in trouble together? Why do you draw toxicity? What is in you that is causing you to draw and become attracted to these individuals, or they draw to you? Because water is not going to come there. Fire is not going to go to water. The water is going to put it out. Ice is not going to be friends with water, with fire, because one's going to melt. Also, enough coldness, right? I mean, whatever, let's just leave it there. I'm going too far. But the point I'm making is, guys, we can be the common denominator to our experiences. And the way that you're going to learn is to discover it and to face it. It can be ugly. It's those things where you're like, what was I thinking? I've experienced those things. I look back at my life and sorry about that, guys. But yeah, I look back at my life and I look at some of the decisions and the choices that I made. And I'm like, what was I thinking? Why did I do that? I knew better. Why was it important for me to win versus to walk away? Those layers and things had to be discovered through therapy, through reading, through research, facing the truth. And stop. I can't just look at that person or that situation. And we cannot just stop and say, well, I guess that's just who I am. No. In life, you have to learn. Some choices that are made are lifetime, life altering. Some choices you made, guess what? It may have changed your life, but there is still hope. But you just need to learn from it. Otherwise, you keep repeating it. And then it'll be harder for you to make the changes that you need to make because you've created too much of a pylon on yourself. You have to look at the person in the mirror. Think of the things that you have done. Think of the decisions that you made, the choices that you made. Then you have to get the therapy you need. If you are able to go and speak to a doctor or speak to a social worker or someone like that, a counselor, and really sit with them and talk things out that will help you. If you cannot afford that, you are fortunate to live in a time when there's free therapy online. And depending on who it is, you can contact them and get more in-depth therapy for, I think they have some reasonable prices. You don't need any insurance. You can talk to them. But if not, you can get your fill of all types of counsel for free. But oftentimes, we are the common denominator in our life experiences. And so, guess what? You have to face that and then learn what started it, discover where it began, and how you embrace that mindset and just took it and cultivated it, and it caused you to keep having the same type of people in your life over and over again. And sometimes you're just comfortable. Some people, you're just comfortable being around them because you have some things in common. You have toxicity in common. So you have to face yourself, guys. We are often the common denominator. The kind of man, the type of woman, the type of friends, the environment you find yourself in, constantly getting yourself into trouble, whether it's at school, society, at work, always having conflict everywhere you go, always a problem. You have to look within. What's going on? What's going on? Not saying you're necessarily always a troublemaker, but what is going on that people are always looking at you? What do you need to change? Sometimes you have to walk away from certain things. Sometimes you have to remove yourself from certain environments and people, but the problem is you're afraid to do it. And if you're afraid to do it, then you're going to continue to be in that same environment over and over again. Sometimes you have to learn to speak up for yourself. But if you're afraid to face the giant in your life, then you're always going to be in that place that you're going to be taken advantage of. If you're always saying yes instead of saying no sometimes. If you agree just to get along, you're always going to end up in this. If you think that you're not good enough and you don't deserve this man or woman, you're going to give off that type of message. And guess what? They're going to treat you accordingly, and they're going to end up dumping you anyway because they're not attracted to you. Even if they were, once they realize that you're so bashful and you feel so insecure, and then eventually you're going to start saying little things like that, like, oh, I don't deserve that. Or if they try to compliment you, no, I'm not pretty, no, I'm not handsome, no, I'm not this, and there's all this work required just to pump you up, they're going to dump you because that's exhausting. So take a look within, and there's hope. You can change. It can feel very daunting, and the work is hard, but it is possible. And the reason why it's hard is because you have to face yourself, and you have to face these truths, and then you have to undo these behaviors that you have been living with and you've been practicing for years. But if you want to be free, you're going to find that it's going to be worth it, and then you will realize and find that the type of people that come to you and who you're around and how you handle things and the way people treat you will be very different. And if it's not, in some cases, you're going to know how to handle it. You're not going to fall apart. And they're going to know not to try you. All right, guys. Bye.